Mayor live, and we are sure live tonight, I'll tell you that. Wow. Better hold on to your seats for Wednesday. I think James Comer, I think I understand what he's doing. He has he has basically told the Justice Department, if you're going to do one of those little slap on the wrist indictments of Hunter Biden, why don't you wait a day or so until our press conference on Wednesday? Because on Wednesday, we're going to spell out the bribery case that they laid out in general from the whistleblower last week, and I assume with the details. Well, that would be quite a stunner. Today there was, and you probably missed it because they hide it. I mean, there have been bribery cases out in great detail against President Biden for 3 to 4 years. Today, the New York Post and repeated John Solomon's story of 3.5 years ago that a U.S. attorney, former U.S. attorney representing 3 officials from Ukraine, came to the United States Attorney's Office to the Southern District of New York in October of 2018, I believe, and brought them evidence of 3 witnesses who could both testify to and document a Joe Biden being paid bribes by the head of Burisma, Mykolas, a U.S. attorney, a gentleman by the name of Berman, who I knew, rather than investigating that case, which would have led to the indictment of Joe Biden well before he ran for president of the United States, decided to investigate the U.S. attorney instead, as well as Donald Trump. President of the United States, and we would have avoided having elected the most crooked president in the history of the United States. But for some reason, the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, which up until then had a reputation for unsullied integrity, took a pass on a case that now turns out to be not just documented by 3 witnesses, but by about 20. Looks like a real fool now, doesn't he? Or maybe worse. Maybe worse. But nothing will be done to him. They'll still go after Trump, me, and others for feigned unethical behavior when all we're really trying to do is to point out the tremendous corruption at the highest levels of government and paying a big price for it. In any event, that article was in the Post today, I guess, just as a reminder that the question of bribery and Biden has been, part of his career from the very, very beginning, going back to when he was a young senator and his brothers acted as so-called lobbyists. There they were doing trailer trash amounts and little garbage, but they got up into the big leagues, didn't they? James Biden got a piece of a $1.5 billion housing contract in Iraq when Joe was the point man for Iraq. That one hasn't even been explored. If the division that Hunter lays out in the hard drive is correct, Joe would have gotten 50% of that, as well as it would have, the proceeds from that would have been contributed to Joe's very, very high lifestyle living expenses. I assume all of this is going to come out now. It's all there. It's all there, and I think if we listen to Mr. Comer, maybe he can say it better. Let's see.
Senator Grassley and I received a tip on a whistleblower. Senator Grassley was the lead in this. We reviewed documents from the legally protected whistleblower, highly credible whistleblower that would implicate Joe Biden in a paper play scheme in trying to set up a deal to receive funds to he and his family in exchange for foreign policy decisions.
And then Mr. Comer goes on to sort of give this warning to the Justice Department.
My message to the Department of Justice is very loud and clear. Do not indict Hunter Biden before Wednesday, when you have the opportunity to see the evidence that the House Oversight Committee will produce with respect to the web of LLCs, with respect to the number of adversarial countries that this family influence peddled in. This is not just about the president's son. This is about the entire Biden family, including the president of the United States.
If you would like a little hint as to some of it, and I'm sure they have more than I had back then, 2.5, 3 years ago, I would suggest that you go to my podcast. Would have been in 2020, first half of 2020, and the name is quite easy to remember, the Biden crime family. And there you'll see laid out in chart form a racketeering case against the Biden family for the huge amounts of money that the Biden family got every time Joe was named a point man by Barack Obama. It was the cause of great celebration for the Biden family because America, every time Joe was named point man, got screwed. I mean, Joe failed almost exclusively in his missions for the U.S. In Iraq, he couldn't negotiate a status of forces agreement, got a lot of people killed there. In Ukraine, he did nothing to end corruption. In fact, he furthered it by being involved in corruption at the highest levels of both governments. He did nothing to help with the Russians. In fact, he never even gave them arms. But he made millions in Ukraine. In China, he did nothing but let China get more and more powerful and made multiple millions in China. And in Russia, similar. There's not a place where there was a substantive achievement for the United States, but great untold millions for the Biden crime family. I think some of that will come out in the form of straight out and out quid pro quo bribery on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to the transaction that they use. There are any number of them that they can be used, or maybe they have one that I don't know about because, as I said, as I've said many times, the hard drive is a good portion of Hunter's corruption and Joe's corruption, but not all of it. It doesn't cover the entire span of time in which they were taking millions and millions of dollars, selling us out. And the thing that actually is amazing, a lot of the sellouts, which are enemies. So you have a whole element of treason involved in it also. I mean, these are extraordinarily bad people. I would say Joe is evil. You can see the way he deals with his grandchild, I guess, to understand that best of all, or even the way he dealt with his own child, Joe, Hunter, using him as a bag man when this guy was a vulnerable drug addict as a teenager. This is not the business he should have been put in, but it was for the father's benefit because he could be trusted. I mean, who can you trust better than a son, right? Even though you ruin his life. I mean, he might have a lot of money, but that's not much of a life. If you see the pictures of him, looks like he spends most of his day sitting in a closet with smoke all around him, looking at his private parts. Very, very strange life. Drugs are so bad marijuana is so bad in New York right now that dogs are getting sick. There was an article a couple of days ago. I missed it. I really wanted to point it out. I missed pointing it out to you that an 8-month-old toy poodle named Bondi got very, very ill, got very confused. He was walking around and I shouldn't laugh. I mean, he almost died. But there was a discarded joint in it and he ate it. And He almost died from the very safe marijuana that we encourage all our children to use, so we can take their brains that are fried anyway and get further frozen. Dr. Amy Atlas, a New York City veterinarian, is quoting, "It's a real problem because dogs will eat them." Addis has dealt with 6 cases of stoned dogs. And by the way, in the state of Washington, one of the cities there is now, after a number of years of experimenting with legal marijuana, is now making it illegal again because there have been so many overdose situations and deaths of young people because of the free and easy use of marijuana that led to basic license with regard to other drugs as well. Don't say you weren't warned. It's going to happen in New York, thanks to the enthusiasm of Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul, who are doing everything they can to sell marijuana because they want to collect taxes on it. Except the idiots don't realize that 1,300 of the stores are illegal, and they only have 5 legal ones where they're collecting taxes. So basically, they're acting as drug dealers, drug marketers for the illegal drug dealers. And a few pennies come to the city. By the time, and dogs are getting sick as hell because marijuana cigarettes are all over the place. He really is a terrible mayor. You know that. Well, Article 42 ends, which means that the government cannot just send these people back who are seeking asylum because of the emergency situation of COVID. And it's going to mean estimate of 5,000 to 10,000 more per month coming into the United States.
Wait, Mayor, I'm being told by the LA Times, this is the LA Times headline this morning, that the end of Title 42 isn't going to change anything. We have nothing to worry about. This was the front page of the Los Angeles Times this morning. So the media is telling us not to worry, not to be concerned. You're telling me otherwise.
Well, do they also think the border is secure?
I'm sure. I'm sure the Biden administration told them as much.
This is Mayorkas, right? I mean, do you think the Biden administration is ready for this? Mayorkas today had a big press conference in which he said to take him some months to get ready for this big onslaught. So he's contradicting them. You know what's amazing? They've known about it for 2 years. Why would it take them some months to get ready for it? Why aren't they ready for it right now? You know why? Because they're a bunch of incompetent crooks. That's why. They're incompetent, stupid crooks. If you're not ready for Article 42, the change now, with 2 years of warning and in court and out of court for 2 years, then you're lazy, stupid, much more interested in collecting money while you're in government. And Mayorkas is about as big a liar as we've ever had in government, who goes around saying that there's no crisis at the border. It seems to me that Senator Sinema seems to disagree with the Los Angeles Communist Times, and so does Senator Manchin, two Democrats, and by the way, so does Robert Kennedy Jr. He said it's not racist or insensitive to say that we need to close our borders and have an orderly immigration policy. That's from Democrat candidate for president Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Not a Republican. That's a Democrat. Seems like he disagrees with the Los Angeles Communist Times. Meanwhile, if the Times doesn't think there's a problem in Los Angeles, maybe they should get out of their building, their air-conditioned building, walk around the streets of Los Angeles. The damn place is falling apart. I mean, it's beginning to look more and more like San Francisco, like a hellhole.
Mayor, I was there this past weekend. I will show you pictures. Maybe we'll play some videos I took stopping by Skid Row, some parts of town.
Yeah,
It
they've
is
ruined it.
it is a third world
Yeah, I
country.
mean, San Francisco is past the point of no return, and Los Angeles is a few months away from it.
It's so sad, and
Yeah, and the Democrats have done it to it, and the Los Angeles Times has done it to them, and the San Francisco Examiner has done it to San Francisco, and those cities are being destroyed. They're being destroyed by crime. They're being destroyed by drugs, and
How do these guys
now
get
it turns out they're killing the dogs there too, with all the marijuana on the street.
Mayor, what will it take to change these? I mean, these are
Throw them out
some of the
office.
largest cities in America.
Throw them out of office. I mean, get rid of Soros and get rid of all the Soros DAs and get rid of the progressive mayors and put people in with basic common sense who realize that marijuana is not a good thing to encourage, that it's going to deteriorate our cities, deteriorate our population, deteriorate our young people. It certainly isn't good for your brain. It's totally idiotic. I mean, we've got a jerk mayor in New York who encourages it.
When you ran for mayor, we're talking late 80s, early 90s, were you able to flip certain voters? Were you able to create buy-in with groups that previously voted Democrat?
Sure,
or were you
sure.
more focused on
Well,
getting your people out?
I mean, my goodness. 4 years before I ran for mayor the first time, the Republican candidate got 8%. And I ended up with 47%.
Whoa. The election cycle right before you.
Yeah,
8%?
Yeah. That's the year I lost by 1%, but I got 48%.
Yeah.
But
that was a 40.
My predecessor had 8 or 12%.
That's unheard of.
That's all we had in New York. And when I won the second time, I got up to 49%, and I won the second time, I won by 18%. So, I mean, there had to be Democrats voting for me. There aren't that many Republicans in New York. And they voted for me because I did a good job. That's all. That's the reason they voted for me. I did what I said I would do. I said I would reduce crime. I did. I said I would reduce welfare. I did. I said I would reduce taxes. I did. I said I would reduce unemployment. I did. I said I would get the city much cleaner. I did. I said that I would bring more businesses to New York and tourists to New York. I did that in record numbers. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been elected. I didn't have the choice of being elected because I had the people in servitude, the way Democrats do. Democrats get elected because they have people in servitude. They have them in indentured servitude of welfare and food stamps, and pay for their loans and give them money and discourage them from working. Nobody would vote for Democrats if they didn't have to. I mean, why would you? Why, after 55 years in Chicago, why would you vote for Democrats if you weren't brainwashed into servitude? People are getting killed left and right in Chicago. And you look at Los Angeles and the homeless problem there, and I mean, you look at New York. Adams did one good thing this week with the situation on the subway, where the Marine saved a lot of those people probably from being beaten or possibly killed by this animal who had just the day before thrown somebody or tried to throw somebody on the subway track. The guy that Al Sharpton is having all these civil rights demonstrations for was arrested 45 times. His arrests include beating the hell out of a 67-year-old woman, beating the hell out of a little girl, kidnapping a little girl, sexual crimes, and then just the day before he did this, attempting to throw somebody on the subway and kill them. So when he started going wild in the subway train and throwing garbage at people, instead of just sitting there and watching like a meek little coward, a United States Marine got up and grabbed him by the back of the neck and held him. And in the course of struggling with him, the guy died. He didn't mean to kill him. He meant to protect the people on the train. So several people, of course, there were big demonstrations. He should be, the governor, without even looking at it, says he should be prosecuted. Governor Hochul, who didn't even see it, says he should be prosecuted. I think AOC wants him prosecuted for murder. I think she wants him executed. all the Democrats in the city want him prosecuted. None of them are looking at the case. Meanwhile, the people who have been the victims of this guy have come forward and said, I wish he had been there when he beat the hell out of me. Like one gentleman, a Hispanic gentleman, came forward who had been beaten up by him several years ago and said, I wish this Marine had been there on the subway before I got beaten up. And an elderly 68-year-old woman said the same thing. And the people who observed the almost person being thrown down on the subway track said basically the same thing. It's the left wingers in the city who want him out on the street. I mean, who want him in jail and want that.
Well, Mayor, why all of a sudden
they're making him into a martyr? The guy is a career criminal.
Well, but on top of that, they only care about these so-called martyrs after they're dead.
Well, of course, they don't care about him when he's alive. I have to say, and here, I do criticize Mayor Adams quite a bit. I don't think he's a good mayor, but Mayor Adams said for people to hold up, wait, let's see what happens. Yeah. I mean, he could have actually been stronger, but I mean, for a Democrat, that's about as good as you can ask
for. And wait for the facts to come out, right?
And I'll take that. I'll take that.
It's sad, but you're right.
I'll take it. I mean, I would have given the guy a medal, but
oh my goodness, and that would have been the right thing to do, and that would have encouraged others to step up and do the right things. That would have improved safety on the metro.
And two other people came up and helped him, by the way.
I saw that.
Yeah. So what happens is if one person's got the guts to do it, there's a good chance other people will step up. But I mean, you got to have courage in life. You can't go through life with your head down, getting pounded all the time. And he did exactly the right thing. And you say, well, he should have waited until the guy actually hit somebody. By that time, people could have been dead. We've had people dead with one blow in New York City. You've seen it. You've seen the people.
We gotta wait. That's crazy. You gotta wait until
you've seen people get behind elderly people and knock them in the head and kill them. Meanwhile, on the other side, the mayor is getting stupid and dumb because he's trying to bus migrants out of the city. These are the migrants that he invited to the city. Mayor Adams was the biggest proponent of sanctuary city in the country. Upon getting elected, he announced that New York City would be the best sanctuary city in the country. And not only will we give them everything they wanted, we would also give them health insurance, education, including college education, and we'd also work toward their getting the right to vote. And the New York City Council has actually given illegals the right to vote, and that is now being held up by the courts as being unconstitutional. So now Mayor Adams wonders, why did 60,000 people elect to come to New York when they could have gone other places because Abbott gave them a choice? They came to New York because he invited them there with wonderful things he's doing for them. And there have been any number of stories that they were in homeless facilities much nicer than our homeless veterans. I mean, that isn't a joke. You can see, you've seen the pictures of it. So now he's changed his tune. Now he's blaming it on Biden, which is correct, and he doesn't want him anymore. And he wants to send them up to upstate, to different counties in upstate New York. And the Republican county executive there said, I'm going to have the cops at the border and send them right back. And if you come up here, I'm going to choke you. Shouldn't have said that. I think maybe a boxing match for charity might be better, but choking him wasn't the right thing to say. But he got a little annoyed because he said Adams didn't even bother to call. He just said, I'm going to send 300 people up to Rockland County. Now, remember, Rockland County is not a sanctuary city. The gentleman's name is Ed Day, and Ed Day said he didn't ask me if I would take these people, and I didn't announce that we want them. Remember, Martha's Vineyard was a sanctuary city until the illegals showed up. Then it became a throw the bums out city.
Yeah,
right.
That's
within less than 24 hours, they were thrown out.
That's right. Oh my God, they've never seen them move so fast. They had the military there, basically.
It's one thing to be in favor of all of this. Another thing to have to look at them, talk to them, be near them, eat next to them, or even deal with them as human beings.
NIMBYs.
Or deal with them as human beings. You might get sick. You might get sick.
But yeah, we're the intolerant ones, right? Because we want to protect the border. Meanwhile, they couldn't stand being around these people for more than an hour.
I've walked around every part of this city all my life. I'm not afraid to go any place in this city. I never have been. And I'll deal with anyone.
We'll talk to
And
anybody.
if somebody is dirty or sick, I'll pick them up and help them. But and I love people. That's why I don't want to see them homeless, because I love them. You see a city with homeless people, you got a bunch of politicians who hate people. You let people stay on the street, you hate them. Imagine if you had a brother on the street and you just let him stay on the street, and you went out and just gave him money and said, "Oh, stay there. Hey, Rocco, stay there, baby. Here's another $50. Get drunk. Here, Rocco, take drugs. Oh, you're a paranoid schizophrenic. Here's another $100 so you can get worse paranoid schizophrenic." Look, the vast majority of people on the street have a major problem. They wouldn't be on the street. They'd be in a house if they didn't have a major problem. Probably 40% conservatively are mentally ill.
40?
40. That's all. That's been the statistic in every study imaginable, and it's considered conservative. And most of it is paranoid schizophrenia. The disease, the longer you're isolated, the worse you get. If the disease, if you have tendencies toward violence with that illness, and some people do and some people don't, the tendencies to violence become dramatic the more you're isolated. So there is no point to people being left to be homeless. They're going to hurt themselves. They're going to hurt other homeless people. They're going to hurt innocent people. They're going to make a city unhealthy, unsanitary. They're going to run a city down. They're going to drive decent people out. And they're going to ruin their lives. Maybe if you intervene and try to help them, maybe you can save some of them. I always use the rule that liberals hate, which is make it your brother. Look at the person on the street and say, that's my brother. What would I do? Would I just leave him on the street, just give him money and let him stay on the street? Or would I go intervene and try to get him treatment, even if I had to get a little tough? You know what you do if you love somebody. You'd be a little tough and you go help them instead of watch them die. Maybe we'll listen to Ed Day for a moment. This is the county executive. Rockland County is, it's anywhere from a 30 to 1 hour and 10. I mean, it depends on traffic. It's a 30-minute drive to a 1 hour drive. It is the home to a lot of New York City police officers and a lot of New York City firefighters because it's less expensive to live there. It has a very, very large and significant Hasidic Jewish community, actually. There's a city there known as Curious Joel, an interesting name, but it's all Hasidic. It's a beautiful, it's in the mountains. It's
just north of the city, it looks
It's just north of the city, and it's on
the Hudson.
Sort of and it's also kind of touches the foothills of the Catskill Mountains.
The Catskills.
Yeah, and maybe even a little bit the Adirondacks. I'm not sure. I mean, we have a lot of our water up there. New York City owns property in Rockland County. I used to go up there a lot to deal with our.
Do they vote Republican in Rockland County?
They used to. It used to be major Republican county. It now goes back and forth. The current, Republicans just won it back. They were part of the suburbs that Clinton took back, and that we won back in 20 and 22. 22 and 20 and 22, we won them back.
Oh wow!
So we the county executive Ed Day is a Republican. He's the one saying he's not going to. Yeah, let's hear. You can hear him.
This is a horrible, horrible situation, and from my perspective, I will not let this stand. He has the utter audacity to tell some of the media outlets, "Oh, we did brief the county executive and the town supervisor in Orangetown." That's utter nonsense. They called, never told us a thing, and the lackey he has who called me. Every time I asked him what's going on, he goes, "Well, I want to talk to the town supervisor." So I'm the county executive, I'm the chief executive officer of this county. What's going on? He wouldn't tell me, and now we know why, because they're liars. He decided he was going to do this. He never offered a question. He never asked for an opinion. He just said, "Screw you, Rockland County, we're going to do." Well, here's my response. Mr. Adams, you try to run us over, I will reach up and grab you by the throat for the people of Rockland County. You are not getting away with this. and you picked the wrong person to fight with.
You can tell he's a Republican, right? And you can also tell that the one they wanted to tell it to was the town executive, who was a Democrat, because they did get a few people to agree. And there's a rumor of a quid pro quo.
Wow.
So, I mean, how are the people up there going to feel about the fact that nobody knows who these people are? I mean, you know, it used to be one thing when 30 years ago, it was Mexican workers that came over the border and a few criminals came in with them. We don't know who these people are at all. First of all, they're not Mexican workers. Secondly, they're all vetted by the cartels. So you know, they're going to be a large percentage of not so nice people who are doing the bidding of the cartels. The cartels control the border. I mean, we've been, if you go back to my podcast, I do it on the map. I can show you on the map where the cartels are located at the border. They are like, it's like they're running toll booths. We don't check the people coming in. The Mexican cartels check the people coming in. That's Biden's America. I mean, this is crazy. And it's going to get worse because Article 42 allowed you to not process people for asylum if there was a chance they might be carrying COVID, and we would send 40, 50, 60,000 back per year that way. So those 40, 50, 60,000 now are going to stay here, added to the 5 to 8 million that we've taken already, which is way more than under any other president. Well, Mayorkas says, and this is I'm gonna ask everybody out there to think about this, because I know Dr. Maria, who did my radio show with me today, but I got to tell you, she's tired. She just got back from Japan, so she'll be with us tomorrow night. Dr. Maria probably thinks Mayorkas is the biggest liar in the administration. I think. I don't want to speak for her. I have a hard time. You know, I'm going to have a contest.
We're not counting Fauci right now, are we?
Oh, man. We could have a real contest, couldn't we?
My goodness, and we
What
smile, but
Maybe
it's
we
just
could
disgusting.
give away prizes, whoever gets
The biggest liar.
Well, Biden is the biggest liar, but he's mentally ill. So you would have to say now, see, I think Biden actually now doesn't tell the truth at all. I think everything is wrong.
Literally, it's almost like the default.
It's like he just lies.
Yeah.
There.
If it's sunny out, he'll tell you.
The default position is to lie.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it may be Mayor. Maybe it's because he's gone so deep with the lying that he almost.
Well, yeah.
I heard this weekend. What do you think of this, Mayor? And it's a tough one to. There's a liar is worse than a thief. A liar is worse than a thief.
Okay, tell me why.
I heard that this weekend. I'm trying to break that down. Is that true? So, but Biden is, of course, both.
You know, it does.
He's done both.
It does actually matter what you steal and what you lie about, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
there are. I mean, the one thing about Biden is he's like a complete liar. So there are people that are social liars. Okay, so
I have a nicer car than I have.
Yeah, or I say to you, "What's my tie like?" And you think it really stinks, but you say, "Oh, it looks nice."
Oh, that's almost expected, right? That's
I mean,
polite.
Like, or even people who make up excuses like, "I have to go out somewhere because you don't want to see that person."
Yeah. Oh, I got to meet. I'm running late for a meeting.
Right. And then there are people who are dishonest and they take little things, or they do stupid little petty things. So I think it depends on the.
Okay.
But here's the thing with Biden that's amazing. He's both a liar and a thief.
Yes.
And he's a traitor. I mean, he deals with China. He deals with Russia. He doesn't just take money from our friends. He takes money from our enemies. I mean, I cannot possibly fathom how we made this man president. I mean, had we not covered up that hard drive, he would never have been president. If American people were able to fully absorb what was in there, I mean, 50% of them got it,
Mayor,
but the other
there's no
50%
question.
had to have gotten it.
I mean, the election came down to how many votes in 3 states.
I think
Three
I think if
That hard drive.
if I've got Coomer figured out correctly, Congressman Coomer, Wednesday is going to be a hell of a day. I think he's just going to lay out a complete, bribery case. And
How do you anticipate the media reacts to this?
I don't know what they can do with it. They're going to say people. I mean, there are hundreds of witnesses. Is an exaggeration. There are dozens of witnesses to these things. They're on paper. Hunter has it on written in text. I mean, he's got it written. He's got the whole conspiracy written out in text.
I'm thinking of these whistleblowers, and I'm praying for their safety.
I mean, there may be safety in numbers. There are so many of them. It isn't. I mean, what do you think? Kill them all? I mean, I think there were 20 or 30.
I mean, other countries, we know for a fact that they kill people. And so I would hope not. I would hope that the Biden administration and the Biden family aren't that sick and depraved, but I also wouldn't put it past the permanent Washington political class to do whatever it takes to hold on to power and to protect the Biden family.
This country now has enormously big problems of huge magnitude, right?
Right.
We've got open borders that are destroying us. We've got a war going on in Ukraine where hundreds of thousands of people have died due to Biden. Wouldn't have happened if Trump were the president. We have all those people killed in Afghanistan, still getting killed now with the arms that we left behind. We gave up an air base 400 miles from China that someday could be the end of us. We've got inflation coming back, going up again. We've got a dispirited country. And we have a president who now, when I used to say way back in August of 2020 that he was senile, and did my first podcast on that with the two doctors, I was, of course, ridiculed and laughed at. And do you know everything I've said, Ted, has turned out to be true?
Of course.
So today there's a poll, 63% of the American people say that Joe Biden is mentally unfit for the office of president of the United States. And 62% say he's physically unfit. 54% say Trump is fit. 68% say he's physically fit.
Wow.
Now, of course, it's not even, it's 52 or 54 because they're being nice to Biden.
I was going to say, but you always add 10 to the Democrats.
Yeah. Trump is 100% fit to be president.
Yeah.
100%. And the other guy's 100% unfit. I don't know who those 30.
That's what I was going to ask.
I don't know who those 35% are, but
But when Fetterman wins an election, that's who those 37% are.
Probably is one of them that thinks he's.
Yeah, exactly.
Articulate.
It's sad, but there must be a.
But now, do you want to? I mean, now, why do the American people think that? I know we play these a lot, but we play them in the hope that some patriot is going to come forward and remove him under the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. That's why I do this. Listen to this. And this is why it should be 100% of the American people that says he's unfit for the office of president of the United States. This is our senile president.
For example, you're going to be able to get an Amtrak, and instead of going through the tunnel of Baltimore at 30 miles an hour because nothing's been done under the Chesapeake Bay under the Baltimore area for 80 years. They're going to be able to go through it 100 miles an hour. They're going to see more. They're going to see railroads going from Syracuse all the way down to New York, upstate New York. Anyway, to the city.
He's getting worse, Mayor. He's getting worse, and I'm not happy. I don't celebrate this, but he's getting worse noticeably. Even in the 4 or 5 months we've been doing this show, he's getting worse.
Told you so.
And you did. And honestly, I've always thought, we've talked about this consistently, and I was, medical, all the stuff we have now, he'll be all right. I think he'll get through. You're right, Mayor. I'd
There's
be
no-
surprised at
there's
this
no-
point if
there's
he gets.
no,
I'd be surprised if he gets.
This is a treacherous, horrible disease. You don't wish this on your worst enemy, including Biden. This is a horrible disease. And it's strangely, it's called progressive. And I kind of analogize it to the way Democrats are progressive. It's destructive. Progressive means it gets progressively worse, and nothing stops it. There are things that slow it down. And I'm sure he's gotten every bit of those. And that's why there are times in which he is relatively lucid, and there are times in which he seems almost normal. But there's always that quality in his. If you were to take his voice at any time in the last couple of years and play it against his voice of 8 years ago, 7 years ago, you'd hear a different man.
Mayor, isn't this turning into a massive national?
Man talking like this. I'm talking like this right now, right? So let's say 10 years from now, it happens to me. I would be talking like this, the way Biden is talking. And then after being on a subject for a while, I would say, oh, Ted, what was I talking about?
Yeah.
I would forget what I was talking about because he does have a condition that he had back in 2020 that was diagnosed by the two doctors. He has a condition, which is one of the symptoms of it, which shows a rather serious deterioration. And that is, not only has he lost short-term memory, he's lost short-term memory, meaning in the middle of a sentence. So the way dementia progresses is you first forget what you did yesterday or where you're going to go tonight. Then you start forgetting a little further back. Sometimes your memories of a long time ago become much more vivid because the brain compensates. And people with dementia or Alzheimer's, before they go out, can give you very, very detailed descriptions of what they did. Now, that's not happening with Biden because he tells these crazy stories about, giving his father and uncle the Purple Heart in the White House, and they were dead for 7 years before he was in the White House. So, I mean, he doesn't have anything left, I don't think. I think it's basically all gone.
That's right.
All gone. Now, tomorrow in the United States District Court, United States Circuit Court for the Second Circuit, the case of United States against Devin Archer is going to be heard. Devin Archer was Hunter Biden's best friend and business partner for many years. He was the co-recipient of the bag money in Ukraine. He got his own $83,000, which was put in the kitty for Joe, 50% for Joe. He could, if he testified, bury the entire Biden crime family. He was convicted of defrauding Native American tribes, Native American organizations. And then his case was reversed. And then he was tried again. He was convicted again. And now that conviction is on appeal in the Second Circuit. And the speculation today in the New York Post by that great columnist, Miranda Devine, is that if he doesn't get his case reversed, he's going to flip and he's going to testify because the Bidens have done nothing for him. Now, people may remember that in the hard drive, there's some very nasty back and forth between Hunter and Devin over the family double crossing him and him taking the fall for them. He has never elaborated on that, although it is in there. And in fact, I'll dig that out tomorrow in memory of his argument in the Second Circuit. We'll dig out the language there. But of course, this guy, I mean, if I were the prosecutor of this case, this guy would have flipped 4 years ago. This is the reason that Mr. Cummings, who was the former U.S. attorney who brought the case to the Southern District, brought it there because he thought it was the right place for it because he had convicted Devin Archer and they could flip him and they'd have, in addition to the 5 Ukrainian witnesses, they'd have an inside witness. And of course, the Southern District had no interest in doing that. They had an interest in trying to figure out if they could dig up some kind of crime on Trump or me or somebody else, which thank God they never did, because unlike Bragg, they wouldn't lie, because they are anti-Trump and they're almost crazy in their anti-Trump attitudes, but they've got a degree of honesty that you have to respect.
Mayor, why don't we play our commercial and then maybe take a couple calls here when we get
Well,
back?
yeah, let's play our commercial, and please pay attention to this, because a lot of people are making this switch now as things are starting to look even worse in terms of inflation, getting worse. It's a tragedy. This is a great way to consider how you might be able to protect yourself.
And then, of course, get ready to call in at 1-646-573.
Kirk will be on with us later in the week. So
77.
you might even be able to call in and ask him questions.
And we'll take some calls with Kirk Elliott, PhD. So again, our number is 646-573-5177. And now a message from our sponsors.
Faith and family, freedom and finance are 4 things that we would do anything to protect. I trust the team at Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors, with providing the advice and sound strategies to take advantage of the inflationary pressures, the high interest rates, and the international challenges we face today. The Kirk Elliott team, with over 29 years of experience, shares our values and believes in people over profit. They can help you protect your finances from the big government policies that are out of our control. So what's in our control? The decision to act or not to act is within our control. I encourage you to act. Call Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors today. Start working with a team that will help you protect your retirement assets with gold and silver, while sharing your desire to protect your faith, family, and freedom. Call them today, 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900, and tell them Rudy sent you. Or simply fill out a request for a free consultation at kirkelliottphd.com/Rudy.
And we're back.
Don't forget, Rudy sent you. Also, how about, let's not forget our friend, Mr. Pillows, huh? Come on. We got to stick together, boys and girls. Get yourself some pillows, get yourself some blankets, get yourself some pillowcases, get yourself some slippers. I love those slippers. How about Mother's Day gifts?
That's coming up.
mypillows.com/Rudy. See, both cases, Rudy, you get a nice break. So who do we have on the phone?
We are going to go to Brian here in a minute. We're just connecting here. We have Brian, our friend from California.
All right.
I believe Brian is on the line now. Brian, are you there?
Hi, Brian.
Yes, I'm here. Hey, how's it going?
Good, Brian. What's up?
Hey, so yeah, I think another thing that I wanted to, say that a lot of people even know is everything that Biden has even talked about for the last 40 years has all been lies, especially like, what was it during that speech back in January when he said that the Republicans wanted to, take funding from Social Security and Medicaid, but that was everything that he had tried to push, right? Multiple times.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't understand how the media won't even say anything about that if you call out what he's even lying about.
Yeah, they used to do it way back, when he lied in 1987 and 88, and he was running for president.
Yeah.
They called him out for it, and they pointed it out, and they really condemned him and said his career was over. But somehow they're in love with him now. They're in love with him now.
Yeah, I don't get the speeches he wrote word for word, right? Like from Russian.
Well, he did it. He was a prime minister of England, a guy who ran for prime minister of England, and he not only did it word for word, He plagiarized the speech, and I like to say he plagiarized his life. Neil Kinnock, his name was, and he gave a speech saying, the Biden family have been coal miners for 4 generations. We've worked deep in the mines. I was the first Biden to graduate from college. And da, 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 da. First of all, nobody in his family worked in the mines. He had one uncle that was an accountant for a mining company. So that was a bunch of garbage. They were a middle-class family. He was not the first one in his family to graduate from college. Of course, he wasn't first in his class. He was close to last in his class. It is rumored, although I have never seen the proof, that he was left back in the 3rd grade. He's always been a dope. I know him. I know him for years. He's always been a dope. But you thought of him as almost. I guess a senator could never be a harmless dope, right? And as Gates said, he always voted wrong on foreign policy. Whether you're a liberal or conservative, he always ended up on the wrong side of everything because of his lack of brains. But I never knew he was this kind of crook. I didn't know that. I mean, he's a major crook.
It's sad. It's and especially though, like, not being able to have dialogue and talk to anybody.
Yeah. I mean, he can't. I don't think anybody can talk to him.
No, and well, especially like I wore a Let's Go Brandon shirt one time.
Yeah.
And I got chastised by a close family member that just lost their mind.
Oh, really? Because they liked him? Because they like him?
Exactly. And I just said, because he was like, who's Brandon? And I said, that's this race car driver, just kind of chuckling. And he used his phone to look it up.
Oh.
And he saw what it meant, and he lost his mind. And he said, how can you wear such an offensive shirt? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, tell me why you're offended. Tell me what's not true.
Right.
It is funny how
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, yeah, it is. I mean, it's a tragedy for the country. Absolute tragedy for the country. And look, and the damage that he's done. It's not as if he's a harmless, senile old dope. He's a dangerous, senile old dope.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. Call back again. We love having you check in from California.
Hey, you guys can call me Sarge, man.
All
That's
right.
what I used to be. So
all right.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
I also want to point out another piece of news here that was made by the head of ABC News Radio, John Catsimatidis, on his show interviewing Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who announced very, very directly that he believes the evidence is overwhelming that the CIA was involved in the murder of his uncle, John F. Kennedy, President John F. Kennedy, and involved in the cover-up. And he cites a book by James W. Douglas called JFK and the Unspeakable, Why He Died and Why It Matters. JFK and the Unspeakable, Why He Died and Why It Matters. And then he mentions that there are a number of other books that lay out very similar evidence about the CIA being involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I have a lot of my own views on the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and I can't tell you whether I agree with this, I disagree, but I do have an open mind about it. And I am interested in reading that book. And I think that having read Kennedy's book on Fauci, I would tell you it's an opinion not to be trifled with. I mean, that opinion is supported by, will be supported by facts. Now, is that the right conclusion? I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I'm more than willing to take a look at it again, because there are an awful lot of questions there that just haven't been answered. I mean, just as a prosecutor, all of those coincidences just don't sit right with me, But in any event, that's what he said, and I think it's it's quite interesting. And he's quite an open guy. Strange way, he probably would hate me for saying this, but he reminds me of Trump. The press was very, very anxious to try to make the shooter in Allen, Texas, a white supremacist. And I understand that the evidence that they were relying on now turns out, well, they're not sure. So maybe they should wait, or they put it in headlines, right? Let's find out what he is before we decide who we're going to blame it on. And maybe we should blame it. It sounds like whatever he is, he's another one of these mentally ill people that should not be out on the street. You know, it's amazing because the people who are demonstrating for this guy who was killed by the Marine in order to defend the people on the train, who he could very well have harmed as he harmed many, many other people, including attempting to throw a person on the tracks the day before. They're the very people who do not want these people kept in mental. They want them out in mental institution. They want them out on the street, and they're the ones who object to it and fight it. And Adams Adams is trying hard to tighten up the laws well, you shouldn't really call it incarceration, but it's having them in a hospital where they can't get out. I guess it is incarceration, and it's the liberals that are stopping him. So I mean, they want it on both ends.
That's right, Mayor. Let's take one more call, should we?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go to Anthony in Roanoke, Virginia. Anthony. Hello, Anthony.
Yes.
Hello, Anthony.
You're on with the mayor.
Yeah, okay.
So what would you like to ask?
Yes, Mr. Giuliani. I would like to. Hello?
I'm here. I'm right here. I'm listening.
Okay. My question is I've never voted before in my life, but I wonder if there's a possibility that people in higher ups could use your social security number as a vote without you knowing it.
He's asking, is it possible
Yes,
that
of course,
that your vote, that somebody
You mean could they make up a phony registration using your social security? Of course they can, and it's been done. Sure, just about every possible thing you can think of has been done at one time or another in the quest to cheat in the voting process. But so I mean, one of the major ways of cheating is to have votes cast for people that didn't vote. So in order to do that, you have to get them registered. So they'll take people that aren't registered and register them, and those are safe people to cast votes for because they're never going to show up and vote. So in Pittsburgh, for example, in the 2020 election, because they were so far behind in Pennsylvania, they had to really scramble. 17,000 people showed up on election day who had already voted, but they hadn't voted. Their registrations have been used for phony votes. Now, the reason that happened is because the Democrats were so far behind in Pennsylvania by 800,000 votes. They didn't have the time to get careful and make it people that aren't registered but have driver's licenses, people who are out of state. They did have some of those people, but they had to go straight out and just take registrations and just use them. So yeah, they could use your social security number and make it look like, are you going to vote this time?
I think we lost him, Mayor.
Well, I'm going to try to encourage him to vote this time.
We'll have Anthony call back again, and
Anthony, call us back in the next couple of days. We'd like to see if we can give you a little push toward voting, or at least ask you why you don't vote. I'm somebody who believes that not voting is voting. I mean, I think you should vote, and I encourage everyone to vote. But I do think there's a principled position that I just can't make up my mind between two people, and therefore I'm just not going to vote. That's a legitimate position in a democracy. There are countries where everybody has to vote.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't think that's right. I think not voting is a choice.
Bingo.
It's a democratic choice.
Bingo.
I mean, suppose both are crooks. I mean, you believe both are crooks. I don't know what you do.
And I think one thing President Trump showed us is that, or he exposed, is that oftentimes you do run into a situation where both parties, both candidates aren't really looking out for the good of the American people.
Mhm.
And Trump came along and exposed that, and that's why I think even some national leaders of the Republican Party weren't happy with him.
I mean, I don't think voting is a sacred choice. It does not necessarily mean that you're not exercising that choice if you decide not to vote. If that is your choice, if you cannot, in principle, find a difference between the two, or you feel that both are wrong for the country, that usually shouldn't be the case. You should be able to find some difference. And I think in this particular case, it's pretty easy. Like, let's not have a guy as president who may push the wrong button. I mean, that just isn't good for our safety, our security, our health. And wow, what a nitwit.
Well, Mayor, again, the fastest hour on the internet, our show, America's Mayor Live. We're in soccer time now. Of course, go to rudygiulianics.com. Check out all of his podcasts, especially as this Hunter Biden story. I mean, it's never gone away, but I think a lot of Americans, some that haven't seen this yet or been paying attention, this week, Mayor, will be learning a lot more. And it's a good time as any for our viewers to kind of go back. Maybe we should go through and list some of the podcasts or point to some places people can.
Well, we will. We'll do that tomorrow night.
Go to.
But I think the one I would go look for tonight that would help a lot in the next day or two is, it's like number 7 or 8, and it's called the Biden Crime Family. And it has charts, and it's sort of a review. You can go back and look at them in more detail. They're sort of like the early ones are like trials. I mean, these people that you're hearing about, like today they mentioned Lutsenko, who Mr. Cummings wanted to bring to the U.S. Attorney's Office. I have an hour and a half of testimony from Mr. Lutsenko. I mean, he'll explain the whole bribe to you. I mean, the man is guilty as sin. I mean, he is as guilty as anyone has ever been guilty.
Well, Mayor, what's your closing message on
my closing message?
Monday
My closing
as we
message.
Prepare for the week.
My closing message is maybe, just maybe, justice is going to be done, and maybe we're getting there. And it is unpleasant. It's sad. It's very bad for the country. But the very, very best way to deal with corruption is to root it out and make sure that people pay for it, to deter it in the future, and to show that we're not a perfect country. We never will be, but we're a just country, and we're an honest country, and we do not allow people to sell public office, and particularly not to our enemies. So God bless America, and God bless all of you, and have hope. Have hope. The justice system has been ripped apart by these Democrats. It's been destroyed. It's been disgraced. It's been dishonored. And the only way to reestablish it is for justice to be done. God bless you, and God bless America. We'll